But first gig back after 5 months, and I've muted myself. There you go. That's what you get for keeping things informal. It's me! Hurrah! Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome wherever you are on the globe, and whenever you get to watch tonight's show, either live or on catch up as ever, and whatever platform you're on. Big Joe Shep, Chief Bloke at the ThreeBOD Rugby Group. And we're back after a sabbatical of some 5 months nearly. Thank you to everybody who has sent good wishes after my little medical fall down and my operation and stuff. Yes, I'm recuperating well, as you can see, the all new BJS. And we are starting again with a brand new series of the ThreeBOD Rugby Group. And this is like a precursor. We start really things going at the end of September, and we're working on some brand new shows for you. So thanks for everybody who has asked us when we're coming back and what we're going to be doing. And we are very, very excited tonight, because tonight is the first in probably is going to be a series of shows by a former rugby player, legendary rugby player, for the things that he's achieved and his outlook on life and the people he's worked with and the people he is working with. And that's one of the reasons, as you know, in the past we have put a lot of stuff together for lifestyle and rugby and sports and injuries and how all that comes together. So tonight we have got former Leicester, England, British and Irish Lion, played for Perpignan, he played for Newcastle Falcons, played for great Tim Stimpson is on the show, so we'll be welcoming him in just a couple of minutes. And we'll also be looking at, you remember the tragic murder of Police Sergeant Matt Ratana, who worked for the police a while back there, and we did a bit of a thing on one of our shows for him. Well, they've got a Matt Ratana Rugby Foundation now, which is absolutely fab. And we've got a Rep Rob Lynch on to talk about this weekend's games that are coming on, the charity games to raise money, and a little bit about Matt himself and the foundation and what it does. So there's lots and lots. I'll cover at the end what's going to happen over the next few weeks. But for tonight, you're welcome to episode 1 of the Tim Stimpson Stories. From then till now, I'm your host, Big Joe Shep, Chief Bloke of ThreeBOD Rugby Group, and you are welcome to tonight's show.
It's been a while, but I'm coming out of my shell. And I never thought I would fall in love with someone just like you. And nobody here now, I hear you calling out, I hear you calling out for love. Ain't nobody here now, but I hear you calling out, I hear you calling out for love. And I hear you calling.
It's been a while. I do love that intro. I'm getting messages already. Put the messages on there, lads. Biggest message I've got so far is saying, where's the Malbec? As you know, I've been ill. I'm not on the Malbec, but look at what I found. A lovely pint of Guinness. However, look at that, boys and girls. Let me just turn it around that way. I've got my green screen on, so you might not be able to see. 00 alcohol-free Guinness. Get you in there. Alcohol-free Guinness for the man who's on recuperation. It looks like Guinness, it tastes like Guinness, and that's absolutely brilliant. So that's what I'm on tonight for everybody who wants to know the important things. Right, on with tonight's show. Let's bring our guest in and to talk about this man, as I alluded to before, has played a whole range of teams, but he was a double winner with Leicester Tigers, double European Cup, champion with Leicester Tigers. He was the first person, if I remember rightly, in history to hit 1,000 points in the English Premiership. The British Irish Lion on this 97 South Africa tour, and he was the leading point scorer with 113, 114. You'll correct me on that. You know what my stats are like in my thing. So anyway, he has been a legend. And we're going to find out all about his career, what he's up to now, what he's doing with Progressive Rugby as the chair of that. Please welcome to the show the great Tim Stimpson. Tim, how are you?
Over intro, Joe. Massively over intro. It usually starts at rugby dinner when all right, mate, we've all played rugby most of our lives. We don't talk about it all night. And here I am cringing. And I want to say it's a great relief to me personally, having got to know you over the last sort of 6 months, that you are looking so well. And we're not going to wash over that, the fact that you've just recovered from massive heart surgery. And I think everybody out there just wishes you the best, and keep filling the room with energy and passion, and you've got a lot of responsibility to keep going, mate.
Thank you very much, mate. I really appreciate it. It's really genuinely good to be back. I have missed it. I think it's been good to have the breakaway, so that is absolutely fab. One of the things I've noticed about is Facebook is like our numbers. So I played the intro just there then, and Facebook, as usual, because the numbers started, the numbers were going up, and now they've crashed. And I'm not going to go into it tonight because what happens is on our intro, we've got all of that. That intro is paid for. The music is paid for. It's all and Facebook has now blocked the show from going. I talk openly about this thing because it's a pain in the backside. So what we will do is we will UMG block your video because it may content you don't own. It's not. It's ours. We've been through this before, so I can only apologise to those people when you get to watch this back again tomorrow, because what we'll do is we'll stick it back out again. But for those of you who are watching, and I'm assuming that's going to be on YouTube, it really grips me, technology. But there we go, because the show will still be going out, so we'll carry on our chat. So those people who were joining us originally, Dermot Rock, how are you, mate? Welcome back, very kind. Sam Graham from the Ulster Rugby Fans Club. They're great to see me back. And Gregor Galway, also up there in Ulster. Good evening, people. Looking forward to a great show. So, Tim, tell us about how you got into rugby. What was it, mate? Because I mean, we are used to seeing you like this. we are, and there is a story, isn't there, behind actually you did score the points in one of those finals, but it went so far over the top of the bar that they didn't give it to you. Maybe you'll tell us about that. We are used to seeing you like that as well,
looking constipated or angry. Yeah.
but look at this one, ladies and gents.
Yeah.
So there we go. So tell us how you got into rugby, mate. And
Born in 1973, I think they called it childcare, didn't they? My dad was playing rugby in Sandal, where I was lucky to be brought up. So he was the first team player coach, and so my job was to judge where the ball was going to land in the field. Get the oranges, be brought up on those healthy snacks, hot dogs and pea floaters and whatever it is in Yorkshire. So yeah, I was just basically brought up by the rugby club, small club in Wakefield, and I ended up playing there from I think 4 till 15. So like so many people on this, it's I'm so passionate about proper rugby clubs and actually football clubs. I've just dashed in because I'm chairman of my local soccer club, but it's a community-based sport, giving the kids a chance to be better than we were, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things, isn't it? Things have changed a lot over the years, and we're going to come on to progressive rugby and what you're doing with those and why. But what was the inspiration for you to get started, though, mate? Or who was the inspiration for you to get started?
I suppose every boy wants to please his dad, but it was more than that. I just loved it, So I can literally remember now catching the ball as it went over the post into that field as a kid. Remember not being allowed to take part in an egg and spoon race because I had a twisted ankle at 4, and most of my playing mates will say, yeah, nothing ever changed your food bill. You're always injured. Get some graft done. I suppose rugby was a chance for me to express. And if I go a bit deeper, both grandparents were big inspirations for me. My granddad was a professional soccer player, and his career was taken away by the war. So when my dad was a young England rugby player, he wasn't allowed to carry on. He was told to go and get a job, get his head down. So I suppose my dad said to me, work hard as well, but, go for your sporting career. And then my mum's dad, George Clark, he used to write messages to me, things like Nil Sil Labor, which for those that don't speak Latin on here, it means nothing without labour. Neglect not the gift that is within thee. And he was really religious, and he had a real passion for not wasting effort, not wasting time, being a real stand-up man. Always remember in his 90s, he's still shaving and getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I suppose if I'm going off on a tangent, that's what we're going to do, Joe, and we're going to talk about. He's an inspiration. As a little boy up in Newcastle, he used to take me and my sister in the back of his car, because after a service on Sunday, anybody that hadn't made it to the service because they were ill or depressed or whatever, he would make sure he visited them. So we'd go around delivering bars of Cadbury's chocolate and having a cup of tea with everybody. So it's like, you're a military lad, you never leave anybody behind. And he was basically making sure that his community had a little cuddle, had a little cup of tea and a bit of a bar of chocolate. And so I suppose I wrestled with rugby. I wrestled with what have I got to do with my life? And it's a bit weird, but I feel a sort of a moral obligation. Whatever you do, you've got to give it your best shot. Yes. Otherwise, there are people out there that would love to have your chances. They'd love to have a chance. I meet so many people in the journey now. What's it like to play for England, or what's it like to run out for Leicester Tigers? And I've kept that with me, I suppose, because my dad was never allowed to do it, and he was probably good enough, But I had this chance. They made sacrifices for me. On the shoulder of giants go I, and my giants are my family, and my responsibility will always be to honour the dead and bring up the young, as I said, hopefully with all that I've got. So I suppose that's it. Neglect not the gift that is within thee. So no matter what I did yesterday, I should have learned from it, win, lose or draw, and I've got to be a better man, and I need to pass that on to my kids. And I jokingly say, hopefully one day my wife might even respect me too. But it's not only said in jest. We're a great family, and it's all about, for me, sport is that opportunity to get out there, leave all the baggage behind. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor or big or small or fast or slow. You find your way, don't you? You find your way to belong. And I suppose that's what I crave. I crave acceptance. I'm a fullback. It's hard to find. I'm one of those weirdos at the back, but I crave acceptance, and I suppose all the way through your career, you're just looking for the second row or the back row to give you a nod. Say, good lad, Stimo, good tackle, good kick. It's just those one or two words that, we call it small talk, I suppose, but it means everything to you. And you just give in the respect of your mates, and then you can go and have a pie or a Diet Coke or even a non-alcohol Guinness if you want.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. That's a find, that is. Let me tell you, brother.
Try that.
It's fine. It's just literally just come on the market, so they've got it in UK and Ireland. But honestly, it's if you like this drop again, it's not far from the real thing. I was blown away by it. Anyway, so there we go. So who was the first team that you played for?
Right. So another joke. I played for more clubs than Jack Nicklaus, but. I started at Sandal, and that was me, as a little boy playing for the year above, all the way through to the Colts. And then I suppose I went on to school, and then I went to school on Saturday mornings. And so I played rugby league, rugby union and club rugby over a weekend, which was great fun as a kid. And then I went on to play for Durham University, which was, a bit like semi-pro. I almost got chucked out for not going to many lectures because it was so serious. Yeah. And we took it, we trained every night. We went for it. We got to a couple of semi-finals. And then I went on to play for, before the game went professional, I played a little bit for Wakefield with Dad's Army, people like Mike Harrison and Buffer Barley, and, learnt a lot. Some of the stories I can't tell you, but all great. And then, growing up on a team bus, things like, it was one Christmas where I was proud as punch. I got my new coat and I turned up on the Wakefield bus. And one of the props, I won't name, he said, I like that, Coach Tim, I'll have that. But he just nicked it off me and gave it back at the end of the season. And I had to go home and told my mum, where's your coat? Terry Garnett's got it. But Dad said, don't worry, love. And it was just a test. It was one of those early tests to see whether you're a prima donna or whether you're one of the lads. And certainly when I went on, those tests got a bit harder. And they involved a bit of claret. And a lot more pain, but I'll tell you those stories later. Absolutely.
Well, as we go through life, we tend to grow up with people who are close to us. They're in the military, and it means a lot. But there was somebody very special and close to you that affected your life. Two young guys.
Well, it's on the other photograph as well. The dodgy left foot kicker was that blonde-haired lad there called Dan Porter. And that's actually us on our, we're 18, we've just finished school and we've disappeared over to Ibiza. And I'm looking far more confident there than I actually felt. scared. You have all these big blokes looking at you. In Yorkshire, if you go out and someone looks at you, they're going to punch you in the face. But you didn't realise that Ibiza was just a friendly place. But yeah, so Dan was my best mate. He still is my best mate, although he passed away, unfortunately in 2018. That's us a bit sweaty and a bit older, but I think that's Millennium Eve. I think somewhere like Florence, where we're probably worse for wear, but happy just to be together. And yeah, if I really miss him, mate. It's one of those that's a lovely picture as well. That's me and Dan, obviously, and then in the middle it's Dave Porter, his dad, and on the end it's my dad, Jeff.
Yeah,
and that was a day like basically. Dan was diagnosed with a cancer growing in his eye, and and basically thought, what would be a great idea just to raise some money, because he wanted to thank the hospitals and the nurses and things like that. So I just literally went into the changing room at Leicester and said, lads, I've got a friend of mine. Most of them had met him because they'd actually, after most rugby matches, I'd ring Dan, and because he's playing number 8 for Sheffield, he'd probably score about 3 tries off the base. And I maybe score 5 tries a season. So he was, you've got to ring your mate because he's going to be. So Dan was always, very, very supportive of my career, but he was also serious about his. And so that picture there was about, literally 25 Leicester Tigers players said yes. We just jumped in cars and went up to play against the Sheffield team. So there's some rivalry there. Sheffield Tigers and Sheffield Hallam, sort of hate each other in a lovely way. But they got together on that day. And I remember it was something like 43-37. And actually, I actually went and coached. When I was at Leeds later on, I went back and coached. Dan was then director of rugby, and I went back and coached Sheffield to see my mates and have a curry, really, and try and help them. And I've never seen them catch the ball as often as I did that day. There was one lad scored 4 tries around our wingers who was shit off a shovel, but he generally didn't catch. But that day, he was a superstar. Yeah. So, yeah, and it just shows that we did various bike rides and walks, and Dan was all about helping other people. Yeah, there you go. That was fun. The surgeon that had operated on him had moved up to Glasgow, so it made it more awkward. We couldn't just go Sheffield to Sheffield. We had to go Glasgow to Sheffield, and then we did another Head Start for charities, kids with cancer and stuff in the head. So we did another bike ride from Wakefield down to the House of Parliament, and it was just about people getting together. It wasn't superstars. It doesn't matter whether you play for Leicester or for Sheffield, or whether you're a doctor or a bloke that works at Sheffield Hallam. It was just, I'd call us all kids, getting together, grafting hard, having a beer and a curry, raising a bit of money, raising a bit of awareness. And so Dan's been been my best mate. He's been the guy that I'd always talk to through life, and he has left a big hole. And but one of his favourite poems was the Invictus poem. You must come across Invictus, and I think it goes, I'm the master of my fate, and I'm the captain of my soul. So that's sort of what my granddad was telling me, or what I say to myself, is that you've got one life, you've got to fill it, you've got to give it your best shot, and you can't be scared to fail, because I suppose we most of us fail often. Especially in rugby. Rugby's, I suppose, you fail in practice, so that hopefully one day you can pass it where you aim it. So one day, you can make that tackle, and you can, you'll win more than you lose, hopefully.
I know that over the course of the series, over the next 12 months, mate, we're going to look at some individual games and how you dealt with certain things and coming back from injuries and stuff like that. But just before we move off of the late great Dan, where was that photo taken?
Well, I found it in his box of fun.
Okay.
So when he died, his wife Kerry said, "Tim, you better have this." And he's basically at work got a box of photographs and love letters and stories. But you recognise JP Doyle, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just going to say, is that JP?
Yeah, it is, and he just got booted recently. So that must be very much at the start of his career. That's down at Sheffield. It's probably down at Abbeydale, and it was just one of those. That's his determination, So I don't know. It's just one of those that I found in the box and thought, that'd be good to. If he's allowed to go and watch this one day, they'll see some good photos of their dad.
Yeah, good. And I think it's I think it's good to remember those people who have been with us on our journey and are still with us, but they're just not physically there, and we keep them alive each day by saying their names and remembering them.
Yeah, and I get really emotional. I'm trying to be yourself is all I can be, but I say when I do my dinners and things, what would Dan give for the opportunity to be here now? What would he do to give his kids a look in the eye and a tap on the back and a well done, to watch them play rugby, to watch them play basketball, and he can't do it. No. So it just means that if I can do it, I've got to do twice as much. No, we can't ever get lazy or tired or not make it. And so you just got to keep driving and try and do your best with it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Having had a second chance, God knows why the good Lord or the universe or Mother Nature or whatever it is anybody believes in gave me a second chance over the others. I'm still trying to work. I have no doubt others are trying to work that out, but there's a reason, and it's not going to stop me from living my life to the full. Because there's things to be done, and I have a second chance. And whilst it's a little bit slower at the moment, you're right. We've got that one chance, and it's we make the most of that as we go.
This isn't a self-appreciation TV show, right? But I've already benefited from you being here. So maybe one day you'll want to tell people about what happened, but and how close you were to going. But this is what it's all about, isn't it? It's you're being my Dan at the moment. If you weren't here, I'd be, and he was here, I might be on the phone talking about what we've done and how the holidays go and what the pressures are in our lives. And I think it's just really important that we all reach out and speak to our mates, make new mates. And so I don't know you that well, mate, but I know that because you're doing this program, you're going to reach out to lots of people and you can inspire them and open them up and make people like me think about my best mate again. And it's wonderful, really.
Good. Well, and it doesn't. One of the things that you learn in the military, suppose like rugby, nothing survives. The first round down the battle range or the first kick. It can go miraculously good or bad. Invariably, things will not go as you plan them. But like tonight, Facebook and its algorithms decide that something that we own, a bit of music, it's going to stop and it's going to take all our viewers off. Doesn't matter. We'll keep recording the show and then we'll put it back out again once we've disputed the claim. It's an ongoing thing that people have an issue with. But does it matter? Because it will go out. The story will still be told. We just have to do it in a slightly different way, and we don't have as many people. We don't have the 15, 20 people we had on live at the very beginning. Disappointing for them, but one of the things. Whereas prior to my cardiac event, by the way, if I knew it was called a cardiac event, I would have put it on bloody Facebook and done a live. Jesus, it was a heart attack back in the day, but cardiac event apparently now. But the serious point is, it doesn't matter. It's a small thing. We still have it. We've got people watching on YouTube now. We've got Phil Harris, who is one of our friends in America there from the New England Free Jacks. Phil, you're welcome. Let's ride. Absolutely. New England Free Jacks slogan. Kigo is on. How are we, lads? Good to see you back in the captain's chair. Dave Topping up in Ulster, one of our team from the Ulster Rugby Roundup show. You know what? If one person gets back on and then the rest watch it again, it doesn't matter. Before the op and things like that, I would have got really bent out of shape. Now I know there's a solution around it, and I have no control. We have no control. Like you said, Dan, the great Dan, would love to have this issue. So it is great. So guys, listen, thanks very much for retuning back in. The rest of you will get to watch and catch up, and it's there for perpetuity. Right. So I know we're going to talk about the Matt Ratana thing, but I want to tell me what it's like when you get to the pinnacle of either winning a European Cup or playing for England, or it's like if it hadn't been for some bloke called Jenkins, you would have played an awful lot more games in '97. But people forget. I mean, he was a class player, but you played the one test, but you still came out with leading points. That just shows the margins. But what's it like when you get to that pinnacle? How does that feel?
I think it really changes depending on what culture, what team you're playing for. If you talk about the '97 Lions and the Living with the Lions video, was brilliant, wasn't it? And it captured that spirit. And I say honestly that how does it feel to reach the pinnacle? My best rugby match ever was actually when I was sat in the crowd, which is bizarre because if you like, the highest we achieved as a squad was winning that series, winning the second test where Jerry Guscott dropped the goal, and we managed to go into South Africa on the back of apartheid, the back of a world championship, the back of Mandela, and we stuck together as a group of amateurs almost, and we found a way to win with McGeechan and Telfer and Cotton. We said we're not going to take these guys on up front in their face, a bit like I think Gatland did or tried to this time round. We said we can't; they're just too big, too strong, and so we had to go around them. And so we picked. They were courageous. They picked rugby league lads who could physically step up to them, like Johnny Bentley and Alan Tate and Scotty Gibbs and Quinnell and people. And my job was just to be part of that unit. And I was a kid. I was 23. So at the time you just think, and I was sort of undamaged, if you like, at that stage. I'd been picked for England in the 16s, England under 18s, 21 students, 18 for one season. Felt a bit aggrieved. I'd like to have tried to tackle Lomu in '95, but I wasn't necessarily old enough, but I wanted to. I thought I'd have had him. And so I got to get picked for England in '96, Lions in '97. I was flying. Yeah. So how does it feel when you win? Well, it just felt like I was amongst friends. I was where I belonged. And even when I was singing Wonderwall really badly, pissed out my skull in front of 10,000 people in a marquee afterwards, I still felt like I belonged. And carried away on that, it wasn't like a selfish feeling at all. It was just we borrow the shirt. We borrow the shirt on the back of Willie John McBride, on the back of JPR Williams and the 99 call. And we just went at it. And it was a chance in like 2 or 3 weeks of your life, or however many, 7 or 8 weeks of your life, where you're just doing what you want to be doing, surrounded by great blokes. And it didn't really matter that I wasn't picked in that test. I was surrounded by the Boka Boka, by all these South Africans who were totally one-eyed, as they should be, belief in their bigger, better breed, the big South Africans. And we managed to nick it. So that's what it feels like. It feels like that was just elation. Then later on, playing for Leicester Tigers, we won. I'd won a premiership at Newcastle, but it didn't feel like it was mine because Rob didn't let me play. But when I got to Leicester, we won the next 4 championships, and even that felt great. But it was on the back of they'd had a humping from Brive before I got there in the European Cup semi-final, and we wanted to say that we were the best club rugby team in the world. And every sort of August, we sat down and wrote our goals and our dream and our mission down, and it was to be the best club rugby team in the world. So that meant that ego went out the window, personalities, saving for the coffee shop and for the team bus. You deliver your job on behalf of your mates on the pitch. So how did it feel when we won my other greatest occasion would be winning that European Cup, the first one in Paris, 2001 against Stade Francais. So I'm just a kicker up against Diego Dominguez, one of the best kickers the world has known, playing against a superstar studded Parisian team in Paris in the backyard against Leicester. And Leicester, we'd got most of our way on the journey by having a big forward pack. You got Martin Johnson, says everything without ever opening his mouth. Uses his fists a couple of times. And when he got sin-binned in that game, again, Jono, we were getting humped up front. It wasn't working. And so, our usual tactic of, Backy going over for a couple of pushover tries and me kicking goals worked domestically, but it didn't work in semi-finals and finals because they're as good as you or better. And so that day, it was Pat Howard, the mercurial sort of pikey from Australia. He's got to fucking go. And we just started chipping the ball, and Jordan Murphy, the genius, and Leon Lloyd, and even the impish Austin did something good that day. And we stepped up and tried things and managed to steal that game. So how does that feel? So when it's a match that's so hot, so tense, you're second guessing. As a fullback, you're playing chess with their fly half. Same with Ronan O'Gara. I mean, my job is to be the most irritating person in their life for that 90 minutes. I'm a fullback. I'm going to put myself where they want to put the ball, to make them hesitate. And then you've got some mad dog Moody or a Neil Back to just catch them as they step and think, oh, Stimo's there, bang. So it's all a team game of inches and decisions. And so when you win it, again, we were just shattered and relieved, but incredibly happy that Leicester, on the back of maybe 5, 6, 7 years of not achieving European success, i.e. winning it, we went outside. I remember Dino just said, no, we're not going to the reception. We're going down the road. Yay. So we just went down the road and went to a local boozer where there was 5,000 Leicester fans outside on the grass. And we just sat there, whether you're a player or a supporter, you'd been on the journey.
Yeah.
And the sacrifices some people made to supporters were as big as the physical sacrifices that you make to wear the shirt, sacrificing holidays, going into debt, hitching all the way to Paris, just to be there in the army, if you like, was brilliant. So how does it feel? In those two events, it's incredibly justifying. You feel like you've achieved your goal. And then a lot of the time in life, it's just about survival.
Yeah,
it's not a real elation. It's not real. It's not letting your mates down. So I suppose the biggest relief you have as a sportsman is the biggest feeling you have is relief. I do, but you don't miss the kicks. You don't do your job.
So it's almost more the elation of not letting people down and the relief that it's gone and you've done your right thing, as opposed to what we'd expected to be of it's the elation of winning. Yes, you are, but actually the other side of things is what's shaped you in your life.
The people. It's always the people. Like I said before, you want that little look from your teammates.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't want to be the guy that dropped it. Benny Kay, great lad, and I'll say this in joke, he dropped the ball in the World Cup final over the line. If Johnny hadn't dropped that goal, how would Benny Kay feel now? He wouldn't have a job with BT Sport, would he?
No,
he wouldn't be the same guy. But so we all make mistakes. We all, F up. But together we fix up. And that's what you're going to try and do on the rugby field. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that brings us on really to, because we're going to bring our next guest into inspirational people and what people do. It's the people that count and what people do for people. Matt Ratana, military sergeant, tragically killed, originally from Aotearoa, New Zealand, rugby player, coach, all-round bloody good egg. Rob's going to come in and talk to us about a little bit about the foundation now, but what epitomizes rugby and those values and people for you in the likes of Matt?
Selflessness, and also this steely-eyed determination to make things better for the people. So I don't know Ratana at all as a policeman. I know him as the bloke who was running rugby clubs. And I think that's it. We don't care what badge you wear when you come in. It's what you do when you put our badge on, when you live the morals and the ethics of being a true sportsman who is there to do his job, inspire people to be better than they believe they could be. And that's why it's horrible that Matt isn't alive now. He was doing so much and had so many plans, which is why, a bit like Dan, I feel that, I didn't know the guy personally, but it's incumbent upon all of us to step up and try to make what he wanted happen. And that's why I'm mates with Rob. I knew Rob, this guy that's going to come on now, because he's just a good bloke from rugby. And by us talking on the phone, by us reconnecting, Stimo, can you come up? Yeah, of course I can. I'd be honoured to stand beside Matt Ratana's statue. And it's just great that that's going to happen on Saturday.
Cool. And on that, representing the Matt Ratana Rugby Foundation, please welcome Rob Lynch. Rob, good evening. How are you?
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm really good, mate. Listen, thanks for making the time. I know we as ever overrun on these shows. We are way behind on the. I don't know why I do show running, but I should just give you some topic areas. It's the way it goes. Matt Ratana, tell us a little bit about him from your perspective and why he's such a iconic. He's an iconic guy, really. Still,
it's a really strange thing. Matt is the sort of guy that impressed everybody who met him. For us at London Irish and the Vets team, we knew him as a Vets player. He was a hell of a prop. We knew him as someone who'd turn up on a Saturday. He was one of those guys that, well, the Surrey League we play in has some really strong sides. Harlequins, Richmond, Barnes, Guildford. There's no easy game. Not that there ever should be, but those are hard teams. And Matt would be one of those guys that you want to see walk through the dressing room door. And you think, oh, okay, Matt's in today. No matter what else happens, we ain't going to lose the front row battle, you know. And for those of us in the front row club, that's what was more important than the actual game result. And for us at London Irish, we knew him as a London Irish vet and a really, really good bloke. He moved away to Croydon with his partner Sue, and he got more involved in coaching, got his badges, took the East Grinstead club through the leagues. And so at East Grinstead, Joe, they knew him as a completely different person. They saw this complete guy who took players on from youth teams, men and women, all the way through, developed them, was critical at times, was praising, would promote people, would spend all the time, you know, there's talk of, you know, in the kitchen at home still, tragically, there's still a table with all the markers on where the last game was, where he was planning moves and where it went wrong and where it could work. He lived and breathed it and threw everything into it. So the East Grinstead, where the foundation really started, they saw him as a completely different person from the guy who just turns up through the door in the dressing room at a Vets game. And you know, he just impressed everybody with this amazing infectious smile and just hard work and discipline. And as Tim said, it's an absolute tragedy that he's not around. There he is at London Irish. I don't know if you got the one with him cleaning his boots, but it just says everything about that. That's the boot cleaning area at the back of the Hazelwood ground, and that is just Matt. You know, happy as anything. Who cleans their boots after a game? Prop forward cleaning their boots. Outrageous. But
so and I actually shown him the serious point about showing him cleaning his boots was everything was almost like religiously.
That's right.
It was a system. It was a process. Things had to be done properly, and he was leading from the front in absolutely everything he did. So, tell us a little bit about the foundation. You know, and why the foundation was set up and what it's designed to do.
Well, Matt wanted to do something after retiring from the police, and one of the things was this bringing on people. He'd got his badges, and you know, he wanted to get involved in. He'd come from New Zealand. I think it was 1989. I think he came over here. He worked for 30 years for the Met. Went back to New Zealand for a time, and then came back in late 2000s. 2008 maybe. He wanted to get involved in player exchanges and giving people chances to come over here from New Zealand and South Africa. Bring people on. People who had, as Tim was saying right at the start, rugby and sport's great. It doesn't matter what you've done, where you come from. If you're good, you can get brought on. And he wanted to give people chances from all sorts of backgrounds. So he wanted to set something up anyway, and he just putting the Facebook link up. I don't want to sort of repeat off it, but it's actually, I think, a really simple, plain, says what it is sort of web page, and that's what it should be. And that was kind of Matt, and improving life's experiences through rugby. He had his thing called the Wahana Way, which is very similar to the RFU, English RFU values, you know, teamwork, respect, enjoyment, discipline, sportsmanship, with a Maori slant to it. So Ratana, I think is how it's pronounced in New Zealand, is a Maori descent name. It's actually a part of a Christian faith. And his Wahana Way was well-being and inclusion, respect for people and their culture, team sport to be enjoyed, whether it's rugby or anything else, but rugby particularly. The whole thing about discipline and fairness, you got to play up and play well, but also take the criticism and the improve from it, and the whole sportsmanship, winning and losing and respecting the opposition. And that was him overall, so the foundation's been around for about a year now, of course, well, just less than that. Matt's death was very tragically 25th of September last year. We've got involved with community projects both in Scotland, New Zealand, and in Croydon, where he was working, bringing on the youth team and helping team coaches and getting people into sport. And it's very early days, but you mentioned at the start we've got this game at Hazelwood in London Irish Amateurs Training Ground in Sunbury this Saturday. It's 2 games, women's and a men's game against police representative sides. They celebrate Matt's legacy, raise funds for the foundation. There's all sorts of presentations and dignitaries from the world of rugby and the police where he worked are coming on, and an auction afterwards. Tim was talking about the community. Well, I think I was saying to you the other day, I started playing rugby in 1980. My games master at the grammar school in Cheltenham was Pete Kingston, Gloucester and England, very early Billy Beaumont years. So our games master was an international rugby player. How good was that? And a few dads would take us to Kingsholm, that legendary ground, to watch rugby. And I just remember as a little 10-year-old hearing this rugby community come together. You stand on the shed of all places and someone will be asking about how's your aunt in hospital, or how's little Billy getting on with his county trials. And over the weeks, you'd hear progress reports or regress reports, depending on what it was. But that whole community coming together. And I think, I don't know, Tim might have a view, but with all the professional rugby and the augment of that, and of course Tim was right at that switch over from amateur to professional. You do hear from time to time, the professional game has gone off into a different era. It's completely remote from the club level. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. And here we are putting a game on, and we've got people who didn't know Matt at all turning up. Nicky Little, Dylan Armitage, Richie Reese, Dave Lewis from Exeter and Gloucester, and now Rosslyn Park. Greg Tonks playing. People like Jim Hamilton and Nathan Hines wanting to be involved. Andy Jarrett, the Gloucester Spartans and Gloucester boy, who now plays his rugby in the Bristol area, but he runs the Egg Chasers amateur team, money for the Motor Neuron. He's bringing 2 or 3 players along. None of them knew Matt. Christoph Ridley is refereeing the men's game. Giselle from Saracens, I think, is coaching the women's team. I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, it's kind of shocked us, to be really honest with you, that everyone wants to be involved in it for someone who they didn't know, but has made such an impact in actually a very tragic way. But hopefully we'll get some good from it.
Absolutely.
Rob, to answer your question, I mean, I was in an amateur when I talked about my life before, then a professional for most of it for 12, 13 years. But a couple of weeks ago, we were playing a game of cricket where we had the Leicester Tigers players from 2 or 3 different eras raising money for the Matt Hampson Foundation. And we'll do, a celebration whenever we can. I think we crave opportunities to belong to the team again. We professional players, we need it just as much as the amateurs did.
You missed the dressing room.
Yeah, and I'm still, in some ways, I'm quite jealous of what Dan had, because Dan, my mate from Sheffield and Pontefract, most of his teammates and Sandal he played with, and they all lived within 25 miles of each other, and so they had, their wives and their kids were playing in the same rugby clubs. My mates, Australians, Africans, New Zealanders, Canadians, Welsh, a couple of them, and they live all over the place. So we don't have as many opportunities, and that's one of the great things for me living back in Leicestershire, is that I still have 4 or 5 mates, and but I think it's that sense that we need to belong to something bigger than ourselves. We want to be able to have a beer with our old teammates, but also do something worthwhile.
Well, we just can't believe it. The Barbarians have got involved. They've thrown help in and money, and so many players have offered to help, and they'll attend on the day, either to watch or to play, or maybe to take part in future events, which we don't quite know yet. But we're having all sorts of opportunities thrown at us. The danger is saying yes to everything, but we'll have to be careful as to what the right thing is. But that's a nice problem to have, you know.
It is, and it's a great start for the foundation.
Yeah,
that there is those levels of support there. So we need to move on. Fortunately, what's the one thing that you think very quickly, Rob, that you think Matt would take away from this? You know, the fact that everybody supported. You know, because he's still there, he's still with everybody, but it's just again a bit like that.
I think he'd be looking down and above, working out what happens in what order, and saying I'd change that slightly, or he was an absolute perfectionist, and we're very, very mindful of that. So the planning has been immense to go into this to make sure he's upstairs looking down, and he's the big smile is there.
Cool. Well, just remind us of the things. I'll stick the picture up again. So that's this Saturday.
This Saturday, the women's game starts at 1. There's presentations about 12:30. The women's game starts at 1. Men's game starts at 3.
Brilliant. Well, there we go. And at the bottom there is the foundation's website. So please go on to that and take a look and support it. You can make your donations there as well. And Rob Lynch, thanks very much for coming on. We'll have you back on again. And
love to.
Over the next 12 months, mate, we'll see how things are going with the foundation. And great to be able to promote a little bit and keep the memory of Matt going and everything that he did from helping others in the community.
Listen, thanks for the opportunity, and it's good to see you back.
Thank you, buddy. Take care, mate.
See you.
Awesome. I think that's absolutely great stuff. Right. I want to cover very quickly, because I know we're going to cover sort of more in other shows, but tell us about where you are now. Tell us a little bit about, so you're doing some work with Progressive Rugby, Chair, and that. I want to cover that, and then just sort of maybe 90 seconds on thin air sports and medicinal cannabis and the other things that, and CCR3, anything you can talk about. I know some stuff in the early phases, but it's all about this quest that you have to help people be healthier and happier in mind and body and in the workplace, the best they can be. So tell us a little bit about Progressive Rugby to start with, mate.
Okay, well, Progressive Rugby is literally a bit like a bigger version of this conversation, but we've got doctors who've spent their lives dedicated to players and have had people die in their arms. I had a terrible Zoom yesterday. It's real, isn't it? People do get injured. So Progressive Rugby is a group of ex-players, doctors, and referees and community agents who all care about rugby. But we want to make it last. We want rugby to be sustainable, and we also want to look after the boys and girls that play. And too many guys now, people like Alex Popham and et cetera, have actually found that they've got degenerative diseases of the brain, which has probably been caused by having their head banged so many more times than we thought. So not just the big knockouts, I was knocked out on David Campese's knee, so I've not got a great jaw for boxing. But it's not just that. It's the story is, if you go into a ruck or mall, actually, as all those bodies fly into it, it's all a bit like having numerous headshots. And at the moment, we just want to make sure that everything is being done to make the game as safe as possible. And we're championing and collecting all the data and all the research that's gone on. We're sitting in really useful groups with World Rugby and the RFU and people to try to, as an ex-player, and other people have come out as well and said, we're worried about the number of substitutes, for example. But I'm a proper geek, though, Joe. I'm like Mr. Retiring. I don't believe in off-the-cuff answers. I believe in research. And I also believe in sharing research, because somebody's doing something in New Zealand, we can learn from that. Somebody's doing that in Wales or at Harlequins, we can learn from that. And let's share best practice now to make the game as safe as possible, but continue to make it safer. So I'm happy to put my hand up as acting chair of Progressive Rugby, because something needs to change. There are too many players finding out they're injured. In the newspapers this week, it's about Terry McDermott. It's about footballers who've been heading heavy footballs, and they're finding early onset dementia. So as we want to protect the game, I don't want to make it touch or anything stupid like that. But what I want to do is make sure that we are using all the available research so that mums and dads can say to their kids, as I do, go and enjoy the game and shake hands afterwards and learn some great life skills. So yeah, you up there, you're putting up some details, aren't you?
Yeah, it's just I'm a big fan of people going and doing the research and understanding a bit more, because one of the things, and so this is, let me just stop that there. That's the Progressive Rugby site. Sorry, it's gone a bit out of sync on my on the size of mine, but we'll stick the banner up for you. There we go, progressiverugby.org. Please
Right.
go to that and have a look at that, people, and do some fact finding yourself. I get tired online sometimes, Tim, of hearing people like, oh, the game's gone too soft now, and people knew what they were doing, and they don't. I'm sure people have the same argument, the same informed argument when they're about the NFL in America. And look, there, we know that the data is showing now that actually rugby was a game for all sizes, but actually now we've got these freakish people that we're building, where the backs are bigger than some of the forwards, and we're putting physiologically, we're putting too much pressure because of the size of the frame that that we're built. Sorry, the frame is becoming so big on the ankles. And well, that's just a fact. Everybody knows that. So all I'd ask is people, because we don't do the clickbait stuff as everybody knows, but what we want people to do is just to look at this a little bit serious. I think that a lot of parents now and a lot of rugby players, their children, I think people will be looking more at touch and tag and at sevens and other stuff, because actually sevens is a bit more bloody exciting than half the games stifled games we watch now. But I think also the less impact type things, people are wanting to understand that at least a little bit more and be more informed. So I think for me, what you're doing is not queering the pitch, it's actually getting people at all levels to think, from world rugby downwards, to be able to think about what they're doing.
And things are happening. We've got some great evidence and some great new recommendations coming out from World Rugby. A lot of it's to do with the professional end of the game, because they're sort of, as you say, bigger, faster, stronger. They're doing contact sessions, or they were doing, and I was at Leicester, 4 times a week.
Yeah.
But what we realise is that you need to reduce the intensity and the number of times that you bang your head in training, just to mitigate the risk. So there'll be some great guidelines coming out that hopefully will, one, reduce the number of concussions or subconcussive impacts that players have. If there is a difference between a male and a female skull, then we need to analyse that and make the game safer for females. Is it dangerous for kids to be doing full contact too young? So as I said, I started when I was 4, and I have no regrets. And I knew that when I was playing, that I might suffer physical conditions. Now, looking around, anyone that played football has got bow legs, haven't they? Yeah. Anyone that played rugby says hello to you like this.
Yeah.
Especially if they're a front row.
Yeah.
But we didn't know we were going to get dementia, and we didn't know we were going to get senile, and we didn't know I'd be burying my mates in their 40s and 50s. So. It's not enough just to say that we knew the risks. If evidence is now available, we need to use that evidence to do what we're doing to reduce the chance of getting injured, and to make sure what we call return to play is only when the player is safe to do so. And it shouldn't be a commercial or a club decision or even a player decision. Now, if someone said to me on a Lions tour, Stimo, are you fit to go? I'm fit to go. I'm going to go. I'm playing for the Lions. It shouldn't be my decision. It should be protocol and doctor-led on evidence that says, I'm sorry, Stimo, I know you want to play. I want to pick you on the coach. But for your own well-being in your 40s and 50s and 60s, and for your own kids and your grandkids, you're going to sit out. And you're going to sit out for a few more weeks until you're safe to come back. And that's all we're trying to do.
Cool. Well, there's the site there, progressiverugby.org. Go and have a look at it there, and the open letter and the work that the team are doing under Tim and the rest of the team to have a look at that. And we will be covering, as we promised previously, we will be covering concussion, and we have covered that a lot in the past, and we will continue to cover. We'll have Tim on with some other people who are involved in players, coaches, people who have suffered, and trying to get a more rounded picture of it to be able to.
Yeah, and doctors who've spent their lives dedicated to making rugby safe. So I'm just, again, a player. and I'm going to hopefully bring in the real experts, the guys who've with the authority and the evidence to change things.
Absolutely. Cool. Right. Give us a minute each on some of the other things you're involved in, a bit of a taster, if you like, for some of the things we are going to look at as they progress with you. Because it's, again, I go back to it's Tim Stimpson's quest to help people be the best they can be in the workplace, in the life, both mind, personalities, bodies, healthy, all of it, which I think is a great round of bits.
So it carries on from me as a kid deciding that rugby was a worthwhile pursuit. You know, it'd be a sin not to be the best rugby player I could be, almost. So then I've carried on. I studied anthropology and psychology up at Durham University, and I went to work inside lots of organisations to try and drive optimal performance of the individual. So I'm now work with a lovely lad called Ben, and we've done lots of wellness interventions. We call it the 7 pillars of wellness, but you know, you need to make yourself as physically fit as possible. So that means you've got to sleep right, you've got to eat right, you've got to hydrate, you need to get your stomach bacteria right, you need to train, etc., etc. So they're the bits that get the individual person as fit as possible. But you don't want a lot of individual prima donnas who are really fit and standing in front of a mirror. What you need are individuals that know their roles and responsibilities and how they fit with their team. So I suppose my obsession is making teams work effectively. And that's about getting a mixture of complementary skills. So in a you know, I'd never go in the front row of a proper scrum. I'd be broken in half. I'm scared of heights, so I wouldn't go in the second row. I can't tackle, I wouldn't go in the back row, but I can run and I can pass and I can kick goals. So, you know, so it takes different skills on a rugby field and in a workplace, and you need to know what that other person needs, and you need to be able to feed them the ball, if you like, or the chance at the right time, so they can excel. And I used to love wrapping an arm around people like Leon Lloyd, who was so rapid, you know. But you know, if I didn't make him feel special or comfortable, he might be a little bit too nervous to go and win us the game. But you tap me out and say, mate, off you go and win us this European Cup final. And my God, he did. So it's about knowing how to motivate. So that's gut feeling, but then you can apply science to that. And I'm working with this business called CCR3, who, guess what? They work for people like NASA. And they use algorithms and maths and science to basically prove and predict future performance and behavior. So it's all right me telling you, you know, you've got a great job to do here, Joe. You're a really inspirational dude. But if I can then get you to fill out a questionnaire
and back it up with science and data,
with evidence, so you can look at it. There's no right and wrong answer to this. You can't win and lose. All you can do is be honest. And guess what? If you're not honest, well, no, you're not being honest. So the idea is it's not clairvoyance. It's not woolly bullshit. It's actually science across hundreds of countries, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people. So we can then use that to help people. It's not a question of calling them out and telling them off. It's more about, look, these are your strengths, these are your areas of amber, and these are your reds. So it was a whole. I want to launch a whole wellness campaign across the UK as well, using this sort of tool, working with people like Looseheads, who are an amazing organisation. I usually wear them, who trying to put a wellness guide into every rugby club. Well, how about we give you some more tools, some more science, like a wellness app to back up. So these are the projects that I'm working on. So that's about individual performance and linking that to, you know, emotional and physical, and so that eventually you feel like you belong. You know you can impact on the world. That gives you a sense of worth, and you know you're confident enough to pick up the guy on the left, on the right, leave anybody behind. So it's so similar to your military background. It's together, you know, we can win championships. And we say individuals might win matches. Individuals have got to step up and deliver, but it won't be the same individual every week. It'll be 45 of you on the back of another 45 people who are behind the scenes, who maybe aren't fit enough to wear the shirt, but it might be the physio, the doctor, the cleaner, you know, the marketing guy, who all make it possible for you to be that man at the right time, at the right place to go and win a European Cup.
Super. And again, so all rounded, it is really a progression of everything that you've done in your life. We started off the beginning of the story about you know, your dad and your granddad, and what it meant to to support. And that really sort of almost is alpha and omega. It starts with, that's what you learned. Dan Porter was you and him with big things in your life. The Matt Ratana effect. It's all of those things which make people stand up. It makes people feel wanted. It makes people will feel worthwhile from the inside out, and mentally and physically. And like you talked about the gut, we'll come back with that. I've got a specialist in Canada who I'd forgotten about when we talked the other day, who specializes in gut health. You know, she's a millionaire businesswoman, and she's given everything up, and she specializes in gut health now, because it is the foundation for her of absolutely everything else that helps in your life. So there's all of these things now where we need to look about being safer, healthier, especially post the pandemic. And so that quest that you are on, for me, as an outsider looking in, starts with how you were as a kid, the inspirations that you got, and that warmth of looking after the community is being continued all the way through.
Yeah, but there's more to this though, Joe, because
exactly
when you come out of those brilliant, I also got shafted a few times. Yeah.
You did, and these things will come out about how they affect in the. That's why I've called it stories, not story, because there are so many component parts.
Yeah.
To those effects. So the injuries, Perpignan, and all of there's a whole number of things which also affect what drives you.
And the people on here thinking, who's this guy? Is wishful thinking. It's glass is half full. He hasn't seen the real world. I know there's a load of dark out there. Right? I know there's a load of lazy people who say a lot and do nothing. So I'm also quite ruthless now, and I'm nearly 50. God, I still think I'm 30. I'm nearly 48, and that scares me. So I haven't got forever to be dealing with idiots who are just selfish takers, who are not wanting to reveal the truth because it's not convenient for them. So, for example, I will hopefully within a couple of weeks be starting a job delivering medicinal cannabis into the sports world, because we were all popping pills. We were all taking not testosterone, not steroids. We were taking painkillers to cope with the bangs, the wear and tear. The diclofenacs, the paracetamols, and they're not good for you. And it's not a nice way to live. And there's a much better. But I was only a rugby player. What about the people that are suffering chronic pain? What about the people that are really being, trapped inside a body of constant pain? These are the sort of people, again, that I believe through innovation, by finding people with a massive heart and a really cool business acumen as well, who want to make a difference. And I just sort of try and work with those people, be a small part of their big jigsaw. And hopefully we can talk about that as well, because there are people out there suffering. There are people out there that are being let down, but there's also people out there gagging to help, gagging to be part of something meaningful. And the last thing I've really talked about, I've spent since anthropology, I've actually got a green business. So one of the best things about today was some cameraman that I met a few weeks ago doing BT Sport asked me, Stemo, can you introduce me to a decent heat pump bloke? Well, I can. And this cameraman for me is a hero. He's doing something to try to reduce his carbon footprint, which if we don't do that, then forget rugby in 20, 30, 40 years' time.
We'll be here.
We'll be struggling for clean water and somewhere safe to get educated. So we've got some massive issues coming along, not least COVID and long COVID. But if we can start a movement, mate, this is what I want to do with you. Is I've got a load of people that think, I might have touched them at in a good way at a rugby dinner or done a motivational speech, but I want people to join the movement and feel they can, whether it be calm, whether it be wellness, whether it be getting part of their rugby community or a charity. Listen, I don't care. You might laugh at me, I might get ribbed for this, but I know that's when I come alive. I come alive when I get together people like you and the people that are in your world, and we make a difference. And what I want to do this year, doing these podcasts.
Good. Well, we look forward to doing more. This has been episode 1 from then till now, because it has literally been a snapshot of the life, career, what drives former legendary rugby player, elite rugby player Tim Stimpson, and all of those things we will bring out over the next 12 months. So that's what we've had in episode 1. Please go to the Matt Latana rugby.foundation. The link is up there. Reference Saturday's game. Let me just see if I can still find the there we go, Saturday's game, and support that. Or you can go, if you can't get to the game, then go on to the foundation site there, please, and you can make a small donation to that, and also have a look at what Tim Stimpson is doing with Progressive Rugby, and keep an open mind and understand why. And the fact that the people, for me anyway, the people who say game's gone soft, blah, 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 are people who've never played in the modern game or never played at that elite level. And I think it's easy to say, and it does resonate with me, the days when I would come off from playing proper. I didn't learn to play. I'll tell you the story one day about how I learned to play rugby, and it was 90 seconds, but that's another story in its own right. And I used to come off as a tight head prop, and I'd be like that for 3 days, but I was expecting that. The other stuff, didn't really sign up for that. And back in the day, we didn't know as much. There's no excuse now for what we do. So there we go. So we look forward. So watch the ThreeBOD Rugby Group for more episodes of the Tim Stimpson Stories, because there are lots of things that this man is doing on his quest to help us on our way. We will be resharing this again. Thank you to Rob Lynch on behalf of the Matt Latana Foundation for coming on and sharing that about us, and we'll learn more about what they're doing as well. Looking forward to the future. We will be starting back towards the end of September. Might have some stuff in between. Between now and then, we're still working on some stuff, but what's certain is over the next 12 months, we'll be doing more stuff like this. If it's not for you, if it's for one person, then that's happily we're doing that. But we will be covering World Rugby. We'll be covering Irish Rugby. We'll be covering all sorts of stuff. The new United Rugby Championship, the All Pro 14, starts with the South African teams at the end of September, and we'll have some special games looking at that. Obviously, the Ulster show will be back, the Leicester show will be back, and we'll be doing some more stuff as well. So lots and lots of stuff. If there's something that you want to see, then let us know, and we'll consider putting that in. I need to go off now and go and dispute Facebook over the use of the music that I'm allowed to do. So it's just one of those things. But I'm laughing inside, because me and my Guinness alcohol-free means I've still got a clear head, and that's pretty damn good. Stay safe, Tim Stimpson and Rob Lynch. Thanks very much, Tim. Chat to you just after the show finishes, and until we chat again on our next live. This has been another episode, a brand new episode after 5 months of the ThreeBOD Rugby Group. I am Big Joe Shep, Chief Bloke at the ThreeBOD Rugby Group, and this has been episode 1 of the Tim Stimpson Stories.
Yeah, get in touch. Get in touch with us. Give us a shout. I love to chat and listen to your ideas.
Cool stuff. See you soon. Take care, all.